A bunch of boys decide to go cow tipping. They go up to the fence, and they are all standing there. They all point out the closest cow and have one of the boys go tip it over. The cow falls over, and they all laugh. They find another cow, and another kid goes over, tips it, and they laugh. One of the boys sees a fence a little ways away with a few massive bulls in it. They all dare one of the kids to tip the bull. He sneaks up next to the bull and tries to push the bull over. The bull rocks back and forth a little bit, but nothing. He runs back to his friends, and they are all laughing at him. The biggest kid decides he will have better luck. He sneaks up to another bull, takes a lineman's stance, and slams into this bull as hard as he can. The bull teeters almost completely sideways, and then back, away and back, but doesn't tip over. He runs off back to his friends. Everyone is laughing, but they can't figure out why the bull didn't fall. The bull was almost completely sideways. There is no way the bull should have not fallen. All of a sudden, a bull just on the inside of the fence speaks up. "You'll never tip us." A kid asks back, "And why is that?" "We bulls wobble, but we don't fall down." A woman awakes in the middle of the night to find her husband not in bed, so she puts on her robe and goes downstairs to look for him. She finds him sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of hot cocoa in front of him. He appears to be in deep thought, just staring at the wall. She watches as he wipes away a tear from his eye. "What's the matter, dear?" she whispers as she steps into the room. "Why are you down here at this time of night?" The husband looks up from his drink. "It's the 20th anniversary of the day we met." She can't believe he has remembered and starts to tear up. The husband continues, "Do you remember 20 years ago when we started dating?" "I was 18 and you were only 15, he said solemnly. Once again, the wife is touched to tears, thinking that her husband is so caring and sensitive. "Yes, I do," she replies. The husband pauses. The words were not coming easily. "Do you remember when your father caught us in the back seat of my car?" "Yes, I remember," said the wife, lowering herself into a chair beside him. The husband continued. "Do you remember when he shoved the shotgun in my face and said, 'Either you marry my daughter, or I will make sure you spend the next 20 years in prison'?" "I remember that, too," she replied softly. He sighed as he wiped another tear away from his cheek and said, "I would have gotten out today." A lawyer married a woman who had previously divorced 10 husbands. On their wedding night, she told her new husband, "Please be gentle. I'm still a virgin." "What?" said the puzzled groom. "How can that be if you've been married 10 times?" "Well, husband number 1 was a sales representative. He kept telling me how great it was going to be. Husband number 2 was in software services. He was never really sure how it was supposed to function, but he said he'd look into it and get back to me. Husband number 3 was from field services. He said everything checked out diagnostically, but he just couldn't get the system up. Husband number 4 was in telemarketing. Even though he knew he had the order, he didn't know when he would be able to deliver. Husband number 5 was an engineer. He understood the basic process, but wanted 3 years to research, implement, and design a new state-of-the-art method. Husband number 6 was from finance and administration. He thought he knew how, but he wasn't sure whether it was his job or not. Husband number 7 was in marketing. Although he had a nice product, he was never sure how to position it. Husband number 8 was a psychologist. All he ever did was talk about it. Husband number 9 was a gynecologist. All he did was look at it. Husband number 10 was a stamp collector. All he ever did was... God, I miss him. But now that I've married you, I'm really excited. Good, said the new husband. But why? You're a lawyer. This time I know I'm going to get screwed. Husband. My wife's gone missing. She went shopping yesterday and never came home. Officer. Age. Husband. I'm not sure. Around 40. We don't really celebrate birthdays. Officer. Height. Husband. Maybe a little over 5 feet. Officer. Weight. Husband. No idea. Not skinny, not heavy. Somewhere in between. Officer. Eye color. Husband. I think brown. Officer. Hair color. Husband. Changes a couple of times a year. Probably dark brown right now. I don't really remember. Officer. What was she wearing? Husband. Could have been pants. Maybe a skirt. Or shorts. Honestly, I'm not sure. Officer. What vehicle was she driving? Husband. She took my motorcycle. Officer. What kind of motorcycle? Husband. A 2018 Harley-Davidson Road Glide Twisted Cherry Finish, 14-inch ape hangers, Stage 2 upgrade, Vance and Hines fishtail pipes, Clockworks windshield, JP Cycles floorboards, highway pegs, crash bars. Starts sweating and breathing hard. Officer. Relax, sir. Don't worry. We'll find your motorcycle. A fireman came from work one day and told his wife, "You know, we have a wonderful system at the fire station. Bell 1 rings, and we all put on our jackets. Bell 2 rings, and we all slide down the pole. Bell 3 rings, and we're ready to go on the trucks. From now on," he said, "we're going to run this house the same way. When I say bell 1, I want you to strip naked. When I say bell 2, I want you to jump into bed. When I say bell 3, we're going to make love all night." The next night, the fireman came home from work and yelled, "Bell 1!" And his wife took off her clothes. "Bell 2!" And his wife jumped into bed. "Bell 3!" And they began to make love. After 2 minutes, his wife yelled, "Bell 4! What the is bell 4? The husband asks. "Roll out more hose," she replied. "You're nowhere near the fire." A little girl asks her mom, "Mom, can I take the dog for a walk around the block?" Her mom replies, "No, because she is on heat." "What does that mean?" asked the child. "Go and ask your father." "I think he's in the garage." The little girl goes out to the garage and says, "Dad, can I take Lulu for a walk around the block?" I asked Mom, but she said the dog was on the heat and to come ask you. He took a rag, soaked it in petrol, and scrubbed the dog's backside with it to disguise the scent, and said, "Okay, you can go now, but keep Lulu on the leash and only go 1 time around the block." The little girl left and returned a few minutes later with no dog on the leash. Surprised, Dad asked, "Where's Lulu?" "You'll love this." The little girl said, "She ran out of petrol about halfway round the block, so another dog is pushing her home." One day, an elderly man, Jimmy, was walking down Main Street when he saw his old buddy Bubba driving a brand new pickup. Bubba pulled up to him with a wide grin. "Bubba, where'd you get that truck?" "Mary gave it to me," Bubba replied. "She gave it to you? I knew she was kinda sweet on you, but a new truck?" "Well, Jimmy, let me tell you what happened. We were driving out on County Road 6 in the middle of nowhere. Mary pulled off the road, put the truck in 4-wheel drive, and headed into the woods. She parked the truck, got out, threw off all her clothes, and said, 'Bubba, take whatever you want.' So I took the truck." "You're a smart man, Bubba. Them clothes will I'da never fit you." I recently picked a new primary care doctor. After 2 visits and a bunch of lab tests, he looked at me and said, "You're doing fairly well for your age." A little concerned, I couldn't help but ask, "Doc, do you think I'll make it to 80? He paused and asked, "Well, do you smoke or drink?" "Oh no, never," I replied. "Do you eat ribeye steaks or barbecue?" "Nope." "I've heard red meat isn't healthy." "Do you spend time outdoors? Golf, sailing, rock climbing? No, I prefer to stay inside. Do you gamble, drive fast cars, or, fool around? Absolutely not. The doctor stared at me for a moment, then said, Then why do you care if you live to be 80? Polish man married an American woman, and even though his English wasn't perfect, they got along just fine. One day he bursts into a lawyer's office looking panicked. Man, I need divorce. Please help. Lawyer. A divorce? Well, that depends on your situation. Do you have any grounds? Man. Yes. Yes. 1 acre and nice little house. Lawyer. No, I mean, what's the foundation of your case? Man. Oh. Made of concrete. Lawyer. Sighs. Sir, do you and your wife have a grudge? Man. No need. We have carport. Lawyer. Let's try again. What are your relations like? Man. All still in Poland. Lawyer. Sir, has there been any infidelity in your marriage? Man. Oh, yes. We have high-fidelity stereo and good DVD player. Lawyer. No, I mean, does your wife ever beat you up? Man. No, I wake up before her every day. Lawyer. Getting frustrated. Then why do you want a divorce? Man. Because she tried to kill me. Lawyer. What? What makes you think that? Man. I have proof. She buy bottle at drugstore. Put in bathroom. Lawyer. And what did the bottle say? Man. Right on label? Regular polish remover. 2 men walk into a pet shop in Dingle. They walk over to the bird section and Jerry says to Joe, That's dem. The owner comes over and asks if he can help them. Yeah, we'll take 4 of dem dere little budgies in dat cage up there, says Jerry. The owner puts the budgies in a cardboard box. Joe and Jerry pay for the birds, leave the shop, and get into Jerry's truck to drive to the top of the Connor Pass. At the Connor Pass, Jerry looks down at the 1,000-foot drop and says, This looks like a grand place. He takes 2 birds out of the box, puts 1 on each shoulder, and jumps off the cliff. Joe watches as the budgies fly off, and Jerry falls all the way to the bottom, killing himself stone dead. Looking down at the remains of his best pal, Joe shakes his head and says, Dat. This budgie jumping is too dangerous for me. There's more. Moments later, Seamus arrives up at Connor Pass. He's been to the pet shop too and walks up to the edge of the cliff carrying another cardboard box in one hand and a shotgun in the other. Hi, Joe. Watch this, Seamus says. He takes a parrot from the box and lets him fly free. He then throws himself over the edge of the cliff with the gun. Joe watches as halfway down, Seamus takes the gun and shoots the parrot. Seamus continues to plummet down and down until he hits the bottom and breaks every bone in his body. Joe shakes his head and says, And I'm never trying that parrot shooting either. It is not over yet. Joe is just getting over the shock of losing 2 friends when Sean appears. He's also been to the pet shop and is carrying a cardboard box out of which he pulls a chicken. Sean then takes the chicken by its legs and hurls himself off the cliff and disappears down and down until he hits a rock and breaks his spine. Once more, Joe shakes his head. Dat, lads. First there was Jerry with his budgie jumping, then Seamus parrot shooting, and now Sean and his hang gliding. A Buddhist monk goes to a barber to have his head shaved. What should I pay you? The monk asks. No price for a holy man such as yourself, the barber replies. And what do you know? The next day the barber comes to open his shop and finds on his doorstep a dozen gemstones. That day a priest comes in to have his hair cut. What shall I pay you, my son? No price for a man of the cloth such as yourself. And what do you know? The next day the barber comes to open his shop and finds on his doorstep a dozen roses. That day, Rabbi Frankenstein comes in to get his payouts, sideburns trimmed. What do you want I should pay you? Nothing, for a man of God such as yourself. And the next morning, what do you know? The barber finds on his doorstep a dozen rabbis. A young man went into confession crying and told the priest, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." "What have you done?" asked the priest. "A few weeks ago I went to the library. I remained there until closing time, and when I was about to go home, rain started pouring down. It was so intense, I had to wait in the library. I had waited for a while with the librarian, a young, attractive, single girl. Then one thing led to another, and I ended up sleeping with her." The man stopped talking but kept weeping. "Well, don't cry, it's a sin, but it is not that bad. You should say 5 Hail Marys and it will be forgiven," said the priest. "But it doesn't end there," the man kept sobbing. "A few days later, my elderly neighbor asked me to help her with her computer. Her husband was hospitalized and she couldn't send an email to her son. I went there and fixed the problem, but when I was about to leave, rain started pouring down. It was really stormy and I had to wait. One thing led to another and I ended up sleeping with the old lady," the man cried. "Oh dear, well, that makes it harder indeed, but still. You should say 15 Hail Marys and you will be forgiven," said the priest. "Oh, I'm afraid the worst part is still ahead," cried the man. "Yesterday I went to the barber." I was his last client that day. As soon as he finished and was about to close the shop, rain started pouring down so intensely I had to wait with him. One thing led to another, and I ended up sleeping with him as well," the man cried. "Oh dear, it is indeed worse than I thought," said the priest. "So what should I do, Father?" the man asked. "Well," answered the priest, "you should get the fuck out of here before it starts raining." My wife sent me a selfie in a new dress and asked, "Does this make my belly look big?" I texted back, "New." My phone auto-corrected my response to moo. "Please send help." Ben is in bed with his wife. His wife's mobile phone rings at 3 a.m. Ben answers it and angrily says, "F off and call the weather office." Wife asks, "Who was that?" He replies, "Some asking if the coast was clear." An American couple took their honeymoon in France, and they loved it so much they decided they just had to live there. But the costly move left them in financial hardship. Eventually, they did both find jobs, but on opposite ends of the city, so they decided to buy a car. "This one," said the car dealer, "has all safety features included standard." So they went for a test drive, and after several miles, they were almost as in love with the car as they were with each other. "But how will we afford the monthly payments, honey?" bemoaned the driver. "We could save a lot of money if you would quit drinking wine and spirits, babe," replied the passenger. "Oh, yeah. Well, we would save even more if you would stop leaving all the lights on in the house day and night, dear," the driver retorted. The passenger sighed. "The car really is lovely." "Tell you what," offered the passenger. "I'm willing to unscrew every light bulb in the house until the car is paid for, if you're willing to forego alcohol for the duration. At that rate, we'll have more than enough. What do you say?" The driver considered this for a moment and smiled. "It's a deal, my love." And the two lovers shook hands. Suddenly, there arose a deafening bang as all the car's airbags deployed at once. After making sure they were both all right, they called the dealership, who sent out a tow truck with a mechanic. As the couple shook off their shock and alarm and the tow driver hitched up the car, the mechanic connected a wireless adapter to the diagnostic port under the dashboard and began taking readings on a smartphone. "What happened?" cried the driver. "We didn't hit anything." The mechanic read from the screen. "It seems the car detected a driver-side impact." Two 90-year-old women, Rose and Barb, had been friends all of their lives. When it was clear that Rose was dying, Barb visited her every day. One day, Barb said, "Rose, we both loved playing women's softball all our lives, and we played all through high school. Please do me one favor. When you get to heaven, somehow you must let me know if there's women's softball up there." Rose looked up at Barb from her deathbed and said, "Barb, you've been my best friend for many years, If it's at all possible, I'll do this favor for you." Shortly after that, Rose passed on. A few nights later, Barb was awakened from a sound sleep by a blinding flash of white light and a voice calling out to her, "Barb! Barb!" "Who is it?" asked Barb, sitting up suddenly. "Who is it?" "Barb, it's me, Rose." "You're not Rose. Rose just died." "I'm telling you, it's me, Rose," insisted the voice. "Rose! Where are you?" "In heaven," replied Rose. "I have some really good news and a little bad news." "Tell me the good news first," said Barb. "The good news," Rose said, "is that there's softball in heaven. Better yet, all of our old buddies who died before us are here too. Better than that, we're all young again. Better still, it's always springtime and it never rains or snows. And best of all, we can play softball all we want and we never get tired." "That's fantastic," said Barb. "It's beyond my wildest dreams." "So what's the bad news?" "You're pitching on Tuesday." A young woman visits a florist to get some flowers for her mother. As she's perusing, she notices the most gorgeous rose she's ever seen sitting next to the cashier and asks for its price. "Oh, sorry," the cashier replies. "That one's not for sale. I got that as a gift from a fellow florist for hooking him up with a woman I met yesterday." "Yesterday?" she gasps. "How did they hit it off so quickly?" "Well, he's a handsome man and a wonderful lover, for one. He's a really nice guy, of course, and to top it off," he says, leaning into a whisper, "he's got a 10-inch cock." She giggles, blushing. "Sounds like a catch. Where can I find him? He's just a block over, but fair warning, he's also a little kooky. He's only interested in women named after flowers, so if I ever meet a woman with a flowery name, I send her his way." He points at the rose. "Then, he sends me the flower as a thank you. Yesterday was Rose. A week ago I recommended Violet to him," he says, indicating a slightly wilted violet in a vase behind him. The woman thanks him and leaves, bitterly cursing her own name. Nevertheless, she visits the well-endowed florist's shop. Stepping up to the counter, she pointedly says, "I heard you are particularly skilled in certain areas?" He smirks. "So I have been told." "And who might you be?" She grins. "I was referred by your friend down the street. Perhaps you can assist me." "Perhaps," he says. "But tell me, what is your name?" She hesitates. Then, pouting slightly, she replies, "Kristen, but everyone calls me Chris." His smile falters, and his head sinks as he shakes his head. Chris's heart drops, knowing she's blown her chance. "Well then, if it's not too much trouble, I'd like some flowers for my mother." "Of course, what kind of—" Suddenly, he brightens up again. Without another word, he locks the shop door, swoops upon her, and takes her into his arms. 3 hours of mind-altering orgasms later, she bids him goodbye with a kiss as he presents a complimentary bouquet for her mother. "And please," he says, "tell your sweet mama she is welcome to as many flowers from my shop as she would like." Flustered with ecstasy, she promises to convey the message and calls her mother that night to tell her everything. The next day, Chris feels incredible and stops by the original florist's shop. "I just wanted to thank you for telling me about that dashing gentleman." He was amazing. He smiles sheepishly. "I suppose I should thank you, too. I just got another beautiful flower for recommending you to him." "Really? What flower could he have possibly sent that was named after me?" The florist sighs. "Chrysanthemum." A wife asks her husband, "Honey, if I died, would you remarry?" "After a considerable period of grieving, I guess I would. We all need companionship," If I died and you remarried, the wife asks, would she live in this house? We've spent a lot of money getting this house just the way we want it. I'm not going to get rid of my house. I guess she would. If I died and you remarried and she lived in this house, the wife asks, would she sleep in our bed? Well, the bed is brand new and it cost us $2,000. It's going to last a long time, so I guess she would. If I died and you remarried and she lived in this house and slept in our bed, would she use my golf clubs? Oh no, the husband replies. She's left-handed.